Hello everyone. It's wonderful to see you again. Thank you for being here with me today. I have a captivating tale to unveil, and believe me, this one will resonate deeply. Let us embark on this journey. My name is Hannah, and as I begin to share my tale, I urge you to hold your judgments until the very last word. There's a journey here that deserves your full attention. Within this experience lies a profound journey, one that stirs the heart and invites reflection on the depths of longing and the complexities of our choices. For what feels like an eternity, I believed I was blissfully united in marriage. My husband, George, and I shared a bond that was effortless, playful, and brimming with joy. We found our own path to thrill, and one of those paths was through the intoxicating dance of playful teasing. George often found himself lost in conversations about his undeniable prowess in the bedroom, reveling in the thrill of his own allure. He often teased about being the greatest I'd ever experienced, and there was a certain pride in his voice when he said it. In that moment, it became clear that he held a truth that was undeniable. He possessed an undeniable charm, and he was fully aware of it. Throughout the years, he would share his stories, not with boastfulness, but with a quiet assurance that revealed his deep-seated self-belief. He would occasionally evoke memories of the things he was capable of, the things he might pursue, just to sustain that thrilling sense of longing. It evolved into a cherished ritual, infusing our connection with a thrilling spark that ignited our souls. And truthfully, it brought me a sense of exhilaration. Listening to him speak of himself in that way stirred something within me. It brought a smile to my face, and at times, it heightened the longing for what awaited us in our moments of solitude. For me, this was merely a fleeting moment, not something to be taken seriously. It was just us, caught in a whirlwind of playful tension that ignited our connection with a thrilling spark. Yet, I was blissfully unaware that a mere jest, a single phrase, was on the brink of transforming my entire existence. One evening, George and I found ourselves in the living room, savoring a tranquil moment together after a long, exhausting day. The television flickered in the background, yet our attention was lost in a world of unspoken longing. The world faded into a distant hum as we sank into our shared comfort. George, as always, was enveloped in a whimsical spirit, teasing the boundaries of what was acceptable. He began with his familiar playful banter. This evening felt just like all the others. He extended his arms with a playful grin, uttering something absurd about whisking me away to the bedroom, where I would serenade him in every language that exists. A wave of laughter escaped me, my head shaking in disbelief at his audacity. It was so extravagant that I couldn't help but feel a rush of amusement. He pressed on, weaving intricate tales, inflating his own image as though he were an invincible hero, cloaked in allure and danger. It felt innocent, merely the familiar dance of words exchanged between us. Perhaps it was the atmosphere, or maybe I simply wanted to tease him a bit in return. With a playful glint in my eye, I couldn't help but tease. You know, my ex always had the upper hand when it came to our intimate moments. The words slipped from my lips, playful and teasing, yet laced with an undercurrent of something deeper, something that stirred the heart in unexpected ways. I anticipated George would respond with something even more intense, transforming the moment into the playful exchange we were so accustomed to. Perhaps he would dismiss my words with a scoff, or he might rise, envelop me in his embrace, and utter something delightfully corny like, "Let me show you once more why you chose me." I prepared for an intense response, something wildly over the top. Yet that is not the reality that unfolded. As the words slipped from my lips, a profound shift washed over his face. His smile faded, replaced by an icy distance that sent shivers through the air. It felt as though I had awakened something deep within him, igniting a spark that had long been hidden away. For a fleeting moment, I believed he was merely feigning, amplifying the tension for effect. Yet, in silence, he rose to his feet. Silence enveloped the moment, heavy with unspoken words. He stepped out of the room, leaving an echo of unspoken feelings in the air. Initially, I believed he was merely feigning anger, attempting to convey something deeper. Have you ever noticed how some individuals wear their hurt like a mask, hoping to stir a sense of guilt within you? I believed that was the case all along. I anticipated his return, imagining he might stroll back in with a playful quip about my eyesight or a sharp retort to match my earlier words. Yet that moment never came to pass. Instead, he lingered in the shadows, hidden from view for the remainder of the night. The following morning, I awoke with the hope that everything would return to its usual rhythm. I imagined him in the kitchen, lost in the ritual of brewing his coffee, perhaps casting a fleeting glance my way, yet ultimately brushing it aside as if it were nothing more than a whisper in the air. I offered him a soft, tentative good morning, seeking to gauge the unspoken tension between us. No reply, not a single look cast my way. He lifted his coffee mug, turning away as if I were nothing more than a shadow, lingering in the air between us. In that moment, everything changed for me. He was truly heartbroken, not feigning rage or pouting for the sake of drawing eyes, but truly, profoundly enraged. I convinced myself that he simply required a little more time to find his way back to me. Some individuals need more time to navigate their feelings, and I aim to rise above by allowing him the freedom to breathe. He may require an entire day to release the weight of it all. Yet, that evening, as he strode past me in the hallway, completely oblivious to my presence, a wave of unease washed over me. I made another attempt, this time with a bolder approach. "George, are we really going to let this day pass without a word between us?" He continued on his path, oblivious to the world around him. He stepped into the bedroom, the door clicking shut with a sense of finality. As the second day unfolded, the weight of the silence became an agonizing presence. It wasn't merely his silence that lingered in the air. He was completely oblivious to my presence. When I entered the room, he would either vanish from sight or pretend I was nothing more than a shadow, unseen and unheard. It felt like the cold distance reserved for an unfamiliar face, rather than the warmth expected from someone who shares your life. I found myself lost in the echoes of that moment, searching for the words I might have uttered that could have been more damaging than I realized. Was it merely a jest, after all? A careless remark, playfully intended to provoke him. Yet, for him, it transcended mere understanding. As the week progressed, a restless longing began to stir within me. I can acknowledge that my joke crossed a line, yet was this level of punishment truly justified? It was as if we were caught in a tangled web of unspoken tension, and yet I found myself yearning to break free from its grasp. As I settled beside him on the couch that evening, I yearned for the quiet to draw out his words, each moment heavy with unspoken longing. He reached for the remote, switched on the TV, and acted as if I were invisible, a mere shadow in the room. In that moment, I realized it had transformed into something far deeper than mere respite. He chose to close the door on me. The weight of that realization pierced deeper than any wound. I had always held on to the hope that, regardless of the circumstances, we would find a way to communicate our feelings. Isn't that the way love unfolds? Yet here I was, in the confines of my own home, engulfed by a sense of alienation, as if I were sharing my life with someone I barely recognized. And the most heart-wrenching aspect? In that moment, I felt a whirlwind of emotions, lost in the depths of uncertainty. As the week drew to a close, I found myself clinging to the hope that brighter days were just around the corner. I convinced myself that he would eventually find his composure and be willing to listen to my side. I found myself crafting countless apologies, each one a delicate attempt to convey that it was merely a jest, to reassure him that our bond could withstand the weight of a single thoughtless remark. Yet, as the days lingered and the silence hung heavy between us, a flicker of concern began to stir within me. Perhaps I had not fully grasped the profound impact my words had on him. Perhaps this had evolved beyond mere humor. That evening, the sound of the front door creaking open and then softly closing echoed in the stillness, stirring something deep within me. George entered the room, silence enveloping him, his face a mask of hidden emotions. He turned his gaze away, as if the weight of unspoken feelings hung heavily between us. In that moment, he felt a rush of adrenaline as he delved into his bag, revealing a stack of papers that seemed to pulse with unspoken secrets. He approached the dining table, placed them gently before me, and let them glide across the surface, igniting a spark of something unspoken between us. "Affix your signature." Initially, his words washed over me, leaving me in a haze of confusion. A deep furrow formed on my brow as I gazed at the scattered papers, my thoughts swirling in a chaotic dance, struggling to grasp the reality unfolding before me. The words at the top of the document struck me with an intensity that felt like a jarring awakening. "What is this feeling stirring within me?" I inquired, my voice trembling with unspoken longing. George's expression was distant, his gaze devoid of the affection that had once filled my heart. "It's finished, Hannah." I released a fleeting, anxious laugh, my mind racing with the hope that this was merely a cruel game devised to haunt me. A part of me longed for him to drop the facade, to flash a knowing smile and whisper, "Do you understand now?" Yet that moment remained elusive. He lingered in silence, arms folded tightly, as if daring me to grasp the pen and seal the fate of our union. In that moment, it struck me that he was entirely serious. He wasn't employing this as an overblown tactic to emphasize his perspective. He had truly taken the step to end their union. Amidst laughter, a hidden longing emerged. The breath caught in my throat as I gazed at the papers, a rush of longing flooding my senses. I felt a surge of emotion, a desperate need to express how absurd this all was. We had shared so many moments, endured countless trials together, and yet here he was, ready to cast it all aside for something so trivial. Yet, as I gazed upon him, a deep understanding washed over me. He had already chosen his path. I stood my ground, unwilling to give in. My initial urge was to mend this, to convey to him that I never intended to cause any pain. I believed that by revealing my innermost thoughts, by exposing the depths of my feelings, he would finally understand the truth that lay beneath the surface. In my pursuit, I reached deep within myself. I insisted it was merely a jest, a foolish, casual remark that held no significance. I urged him to remember the depth of my love, the strength of our bond, and how absurd it would be to dismantle everything we built over a single moment of weakness. Yet, each time I opened my mouth, it felt as though my words were swallowed by an unyielding silence. He remained distant, a mere shake of his head signaling his unwillingness to connect. In moments where logic faltered, I found myself seeking forgiveness over and over, as if each utterance could bridge the chasm of unspoken longing. I expressed my deepest regret for the pain I caused him, admitting that the joke should never have escaped my lips, and that I would erase it in an instant if I had the chance. I laid bare my vulnerability, setting aside my self-importance, and implored him to think again. Yet, despite my every word, it felt like nothing could truly bridge the chasm between us. His heart was already set on a path he knew he shouldn't tread. He no longer perceived my words as mere jest. Instead, he recognized them as a profound reality. He believed that my words could only stem from lingering thoughts of my past love. Within the depths of his mind, no other rationale could possibly exist. The thought of me expressing something impulsively to provoke a response never even entered his consciousness. He thought I had drawn parallels between them, that I had revisited the echoes of my past love so often that the memories of our closeness lingered vividly in my mind. To him, my words held a weight far beyond mere jest. They were a revelation of my deepest truths. I attempted to soothe his worries, to convey that my past love was merely a distant echo, a chapter long since sealed and forgotten. Yet he remained oblivious to it all. He had crafted a narrative in his mind, one where I remained ensnared in the past, harboring a hidden yearning for another while sharing the intimacy of our nights together. No matter how fervently I tried to clarify, how deeply I insisted that his perceptions were misguided, he clung to his own truths, unyielding and resolute. I came to understand that my struggle was no longer about clarifying the humor. It was a battle against an image of myself that he had already conjured in his mind. Despite my every plea, his resolve remained unyielding. And the most haunting realization was that I was powerless to alter his thoughts. The days following that night were shrouded in a haze of longing and confusion. I moved through each day, rising to the dawn, enveloped in silence, observing him sidestep my presence. Yet it felt as though I was witnessing the slow disintegration of my marriage, piece by piece. Initially, a wave of frustration washed over me for uttering those words. I found myself yearning to turn back the clock, to hold back my words before they escaped into the air. Perhaps if I had simply laughed instead of uttering a word or selected another joke, everything might have turned out differently. Perhaps I had shattered it all with my own foolishness. Yet, as I delved deeper into my thoughts, I found myself wondering if this was truly just about that single joke. How could a mere phrase, intended to be light-hearted, unravel the very fabric of a lifelong commitment? Was our bond so delicate that a single ill-timed jest could shatter it completely? Did my husband truly feel for me as deeply as I believed he did? Had I been oblivious to a profound truth that lingered beneath the surface all this time? With each moment of contemplation, a deeper sense of turmoil stirred within me. Perhaps this transcended mere words spoken. George had likely been harboring hidden insecurities that remained unknown to me. He had always exuded an air of unwavering assurance. Or at least, that's the facade he presented to the world. But what if everything was merely a facade? What if he had been weaving his own illusions, just as fervently as he had been attempting to sway my heart? Then, another thought struck me, leaving me breathless and reeling. What if he had already distanced himself from the marriage long before this moment unfolded? What if he had been longing for a reason to break free, and I had unwittingly offered him the ideal justification? A person doesn't abandon a shared life over a mere jest unless they've been searching for a way out all along. I grappled with these emotions in quiet solitude, for regardless of the reality, a singular truth emerged with haunting clarity. He held onto his resentment, unwilling to let go of the past. He closed himself off, unwilling to engage in the depths of a conversation that could unravel the unspoken yearnings between them. He lacked the courage to embrace what we could have been. And if he wasn't prepared to embrace any of those possibilities, perhaps I had been the sole keeper of this union all along. I found myself lost in a week of yearning, grappling with a situation that seemed beyond repair. Yet, despite my every word and desperate attempt, George remained steadfast, unyielding in his resolve. As he placed the divorce papers before me once more, I felt a strange calm wash over me, devoid of tears. I remained silent, holding back my pleas and refraining from any disputes. I gazed into his eyes, my heart racing, and posed one last question that hung in the air, heavy with unspoken longing. Are you truly prepared to sacrifice everything we've built together for this moment? He moved forward without a moment's pause. He simply whispered, "You've already crossed that line." And that was the moment everything changed. In that instant, I realized I had clung to a shadow of what once was, a fleeting echo of a passion that had slipped through my fingers. So I signed, not out of desire, not from a lack of love, but because I finally grasped that a union where a single misstep, a fleeting jest can shatter everything, is not a bond worth preserving. A bond forged in genuine affection ought to withstand the trials of miscommunication. A union founded on faith must embrace the possibility of redemption. Yet, if George had truly cared for me, he would have heard my heart's whispers. If he had faith in me, he would have seen the truth beneath the surface. And since he chose not to, I was left with no option but to release my grip. I longed to express that it was liberating, that I departed with pride. Yet the reality is it pierced my heart deeply, continues to linger. Yet, the deepest pain lies in the awareness that I stood alone in the battle for our love. A union where only one heart is striving has already reached its end. Reflecting on the past, I realized this entire experience revealed lessons I never anticipated would come through such intense longing. It's fascinating how life unfolds, revealing lessons in the most unexpected places. I never anticipated that my own marriage would turn into such a profound journey of self-discovery. In a moment like this, it's tempting to cast judgment, to think she crossed a line with her humor or to label him as overly sensitive. Yet, The complexities of life weave a tapestry far more intricate than we often anticipate. In the realm of feelings, individuals often find themselves navigating paths that defy logic. And truthfully, that's precisely what unfolded in this moment. Here are a few revelations that stirred my soul. Connection is everything. When a single ill-timed jest holds the power to unravel your connection, it reveals deeper, unspoken tensions lurking in the shadows. Let's face the truth. Content and stable partners don't part ways over a single phrase. They share their deepest thoughts and feelings. They reveal the depths of their emotions. They yearn to grasp the depths of one another's souls. Yet, in my situation, George denied me that opportunity. He closed the door on me entirely, and that awakened a profound understanding within me. When your partner shies away from genuine dialogue, the foundation of your connection becomes fragile and uncertain. It may appear steady for a moment, yet the first surge of passion will sweep everything aside. Self-importance and doubt can shatter the most profound connections. I once held the conviction that love possessed the power to conquer all obstacles. If two souls genuinely cherished one another, they would uncover a path to navigate their challenges together. Yet, I've come to realize that this isn't always the case. For in moments of longing, the heart wrestles with the weight of unspoken truths. And ego, it seeps into the heart of a relationship, tainting every moment with its toxic grip. When one prioritizes their own self-importance over the connection with their partner, even the deepest love can falter, leading the relationship toward inevitable ruin. If a person isn't willing to stand up for you, then don't expend your energy in trying to prove your worth to them. I poured countless hours into mending this, consumed by the intensity of my longing. I expressed my regret. I revealed my innermost thoughts. I allowed him the distance he needed. I poured my heart into every effort, desperately trying to prove that our union still held the promise of something beautiful and worth fighting for. Yet, the reality is that it requires the commitment of both individuals to nurture and defend the bond they share. A connection should always be a dance of mutual longing, never a struggle fought alone. When faced with a heart that remains closed, sometimes the wisest choice is to turn away and seek solace elsewhere. Not every jest carries significance, yet not every response finds its rationale either. Honestly, I can't pretend that I played the role of the innocent one in this situation. I stirred the depths of something untamed. I took the leap and shared the joke. I toyed with his sensitivities, fully aware of the pride he held regarding this subject. I understand, but did I truly deserve to watch my marriage slip away because of it? That's the part that still aches deeply. Indeed, I might have sparked the flame, yet he is the one who reduced it all to ashes. A bond can endure the weight of miscommunication, the sting of poorly timed humor, and the shadows cast by errors. Ultimately, I will embrace the weight of my choices. But let's face it, George's reaction was a bit excessive. And I can't shake the thought of how things might have unfolded differently had the tables turned. If he had dared to jest about a past love, would I have taken that step to end it all? Absolutely not. I might have sighed dramatically, perhaps playfully bantered with him, and then let it go. What are your thoughts on this? Did I err in sharing that jest? Was George's response perhaps a bit too intense? I would be eager to know your feelings on this matter. How would you have navigated my situation? Share your thoughts with me below.